New American magazine. We're just locked out. I don't know if you heard about that or not. They denied credentials to our correspondent.
I don't.
Okay. Bill Jasper, our correspondent right there.
Yes, hi, Bill.
I'm outside of the Grand America Hotel in Salt Lake City. This is the site, one of the venues for the National Governors Association annual meeting 2011. This is also known as the U.S.-China 2011 Governors Forum. One of the main features of this year's event are a number of Chinese governors, from provincial governors and Communist Party leaders who have come here to Salt Lake to strike deals with educational exchanges, corporate deals, and investment opportunities here in the United States with the governors of the various states. This is the second day of a three-day event. Yesterday was interesting. We did a broadcast from a different venue. That was up at the University of Utah Stadium, the Ute Stadium. And the New American magazine was prevented from entering into the site for the Governor's Conference. As far as we know, we were the only media outlet that was prevented from entering. We were not allowed to have credentials. The NGA officials said that our publication was not considered to be valid, a legitimate news organization, that we were not an unbiased and objective news organization. However, as we pointed out yesterday, there were dozens of, perhaps scores, of Chinese so-called journalists who were allowed to enter into the site. I interviewed one of them yesterday, the chief U.S. correspondent for China Daily, which is one of the main propaganda organs of the Communist Party of China. And today's issue of China Daily features a front page photo of Christine Gregoire, who is the chairman of the NGA this year, the outgoing chairman. She is the governor of the state of Washington. She is shown in today's picture of China Daily, meeting with the various Chinese officials and leading the conference. I would like to point out that when I ran into problems with the National Governors Association communications office when they said that the New American magazine would not be allowed to enter the facilities here or report on their conference in an official credentialed capacity, I tried to go above the bureaucrats at NGA who had made this decision, and I went directly to the chair. I tried to talk with Governor Gregoire herself. I talked with her staff personnel. They said, yes, this is a First Amendment issue. This is something that concerns them. They were sure that the governor would look into this. But I never heard back from Governor Gregoire or from the staff of, for instance, Governor Jerry Brown's office in California. I contacted Jerry Brown, could not talk with him or get an interview with him or Governor Gregoire. But his office also assured me that, yes, this is a serious First Amendment issue that should be open. The Governors Association should be open to journalists of all different viewpoints. And, but again, no reaction so far from Governor Brown's office. Opening issue of China Daily for the conference. I interviewed the chief correspondent for China Daily here in the United States, Li Jing, and she had just come out of the conference that I had been denied entrance to. She is the assistant managing editor of China Daily overall, and again, she is their top person here in the United States. She's based in Washington, D.C. And this article that she had written, she had actually written the cover story and has written the cover stories for many of the China Daily operations online and in print. And yesterday, when I interviewed her, she informed me that yes, there were dozens or even scores of Chinese journalists who had come here from China, from Beijing, and from the various provinces, usually as part of the entourage of the Chinese governors. So they are here in an official capacity to promote the image of these governors, not to report as objective journalists. In an article that I published online yesterday, we pointed out that just earlier this year, in January of this year, the Press Freedom Organization, international organization known as Reporters Without Frontiers, or sometimes they're called Reporters Without Borders, published a report pointing out that in January of this year, of 2011, the Chinese Communist Party's Ministry of Propaganda, or Department of Propaganda, issued new directives requiring that all Chinese journalists go through a 6-month training program so that they will know the proper way to report. A government training program run by the Propaganda Ministry and run also by China Daily and some of their top officials in CCC TV, which is the Communist Chinese television program now operated here in the United States. They are forcing all journalists to go through these training programs so that they can report what the government wants them to, put out the Communist Party line. So my question is to the National Governors Association and to Jody Amir, who is the Director of Communications, who informed me that it was her decision to refuse us admission because we are not objective or unbiased reporters. Why were they promiscuously handing out credentials to all of the acknowledged propagandists who are reporting here for CCTV, for China Daily, Beijing Review, and the other various Chinese official Communist Party news sources? In one of the stories which I published online before the Governor's Summit, I pointed out that there was something very interesting and strange about many of the National Governors Association news articles. And not only, this isn't strictly an NGA problem, but we see it virtually through all of the US media. When Communist Party officials come over here to the United States, they are rarely, if ever, identified in any of the stories as Communist Party secretaries, Communist Party assistant secretaries. They are introduced in the US media as party officials or party secretaries. I wrote a story which we published online about this, and that's probably one of the things that did not endear me to the NGA. I pointed out that when they refer to people as simply party officials, that is being very disingenuous and deceptive. When we refer to party officials here in the United States, we're referring to Democrat Party, Republican Party, Independent Party, Green Party, Constitutionalist Party. So what party are they talking about? Are they talking about a Halloween party? Are they talking about a birthday party? No, they're talking about Communist Party officials. Well, it's very interesting that China Daily, in its first opening issue for the summit, didn't show this same reticence. On the back page, they show the 4 of their provincial officials who they're showcasing here at this summit. And it's very interesting that, actually 5 of them, 4 governors and another party official, they give congratulations to them, and they show here Zhao Hongshu, Secretary of Zhejiang Provincial Committee of the Communist Party of China. So they are trumpeting it here. And my question to the National Governors Association and to the media in general is, if we're going to be truly open and transparent, why are these individuals not identified as Communist Party officials? If they were Nazi Party officials or Fascist Party officials, we would of course put that up there, and rightfully people would draw the conclusions, the negative conclusions from that. However, there is a major effort to shield the Communist Party officials from the legitimate negative connotation that people associate with that. For instance, this is one of the books that should be on most library shelves in our colleges and our high schools, but it is not. Should be available to all of the governors. The title is The Unknown Story, Mao, by Zheng Cheng, author of The Wild Swans. Very important book, biography about Mao Zedong, whose visage is still glorified. There in Tiananmen Square and throughout China, you always see Mao Zedong being honored and glorified. And but the real true record of Mao as a mass murderer and as a criminal of unparalleled depravity in human history is glossed over. We are allowed to treat him as a hero in China and here in the United States, according to much of our media, where truly he deserves a place alongside of, if not far above, Adolf Hitler. This is probably one of the reasons why the National Governors Association decided not to, or rather the bureaucrats in the National Governors Association decided not to give the New American press credentials for the conference. This is a special cover story, China, the New Investment Saviors, which examines the mad rush by not only governors but mayors and county commissioners across the country to try to solve their deficit wild spending problems by inviting Chinese corporations, including many of those Chinese state-run corporations, billion-dollar corporations, that are guilty of vast human rights violations in China and of financing terror regimes in Africa, such as the infamous Sudan regime that has been responsible for the Darfur genocide. Many of the mega corporations from China that are seeking to buy up our resources, our mines, our forests, our manufacturing here in the United States, are the very same corporations that have been cited by human rights organizations and by committees of our own U.S. Congress and of parliaments of other countries of being responsible for aiding and abetting terrorist regimes and genocidal regimes. So we examined that, as well as many other ramifications of the unquestioning acceptance of many of these state-run, communist-run, Communist Party-controlled corporations here in the United States. Whether or not the governors or people of the United States agree with that perspective is another matter, but it is certainly a valid point of view that many Americans agree with and would consider important in the debate of any policy decisions, any policies concerning trade with China, and particularly as it relates to the acquisition of corporations here in the United States by Chinese corporations. Particularly our corporations here that are involved in strategic defense-related matters. So here in Salt Lake, members of the John Birch Society have been distributing copies of this magazine, as well as this little handout, which is shows the famous photo from Tiananmen Square, the heroic young man standing in front of the tanks. And the question here is, governors, how's this for your new partner? That seems to be an embarrassing question that no one wants to ask here. And so we're asking that, and we hope that many more Americans will be asking their governors, their mayors, their county commissioners about this. This is Bill Jasper reporting from the National Governors Association annual meeting in Salt Lake City, Utah.